Greetings, and as we are right in front of July 4th here in the United States, I wanted to just read a few pieces of history. History that took place before July the 4th, 1776. Elements of that period before which reflect a great deal, many things, a great many feelings of the public and some of those men who became movers and shakers of the period. Just a few things for you to think about. Let's go to, and one of my favorite, of course, the works with George Mason. Let's go to the 18th of July, 1774. In Fairfax County, Virginia. A meeting was held by the freeholders and freemen, and they put together what's called the Fairfax County Resolves. At a general meeting of the freeholders and inhabitants of the county of Fairfax on Monday, the 18th of July, 1774, at the courthouse, George Washington, Esquire, Chairman, and Robert Harrison, gentleman clerk of the said meeting. And those two gentlemen, by the way, had just been elected to be representatives of the county in Williamsburg for what would become a convention of former House of Burgesses, because the governor, Governor Murray, Lord of Dunmore, had for the second time dismissed the House of Burgesses. So there really was no governing body in Virginia at that time, and these men were going to step in as elected by the people who had the power to vote. Remember that. Let's go down to the second resolution, and there were 24 of these. I'm just going to pick out a few of them for you. Resolved that the most important and valuable part of the British Constitution, upon which its very existence depends, is the fundamental principle of the people's being governed by no laws to which they have not given their consent, by representatives freely chosen by themselves, who are affected by the laws they enact equally with their constituents, to whom they are accountable, and whose burthens they share, in which consists the safety and happiness of the community. For this is part of the Constitution, for this is part of the Constitution was taken away or materially altered. The government must degenerate either into an absolute and despotic monarchy or a tyrannical aristocracy, and freedom of the people be annihilated. Let's move over to Resolution 6. Resolved that taxation and representation are in their natural inseparable, and the right of withholding or of giving and granting their own money is the only effectual security to free people against the encroachments of despotism and tyranny. And whatever they yield the one, they must quickly fall a prey to the other. So remember that item that came later, no taxation without representation? This is 1774. Let's move to another one. There's so many. Resolved, this is number 17. Resolved that it is the opinion of this meeting that during our present difficulties and distress, no slaves ought to be imported into any of the British colonies on this continent. And we take this opportunity of declaring our most earnest wishes to see an entire stop forever put to such a wicked, cruel, and unnatural trade. George Mason, 1774, pushing these, and George Washington going to the convention that would eventually yield the Declaration of Rights. Wicked and cruel trade. Why have we been lied to by modern historians who claim that these people were slave holders to the end and wanted it preserved? We know that's not true. Now let's find something else here. Well, I think we'll just go, I know what I'll do. Before I get to the Declaration of Rights, I want to sneak in a little bit of Thomas Paine's common sense. Some things that have to do with the government and the style of government and the political parties. And of course, this was published in February 14th, 1776. So a lot had happened between 1774 and 1776. But as I said, there were people who got things in motion. Here it is, common sense. Society is produced by our wants, and government by our wickedness. The former promotes our happiness positively by uniting our affections. The latter negatively by restraining our vices. The one encourages intercourse, the other creates distinctions. The first is a patron, the last a punisher. Distinctions, such as labels, political labels, dividing you and me by parties or party beliefs. Distinctions. Not preaching about love and family. No. No, it talks about something else. Distinctions. We know what that is today in terms of sociology, Marxism, communism. Let's move over a few more pages. Let's see. Well, I thought I was going to read some of that. Here we go. If the colony continue increasing, it will become necessary to augment the number of representatives. And the interest of every part of the colony may be attended to. It will be found best to divide the whole into convenient parts, each part sending its proper number, and that the elected might never form to themselves an interest separate from the electors. Prudence will point out the property of having elections often, because as the elected might by the means return and mix again with the general body of electors in a few months, their fidelity to the public will be secured by the prudent reflection of not making a rod for themselves. So we saw some of this earlier. I know where. Hang on a second, I'll be right back.